The island of Gonave, I think, has always been forgotten. A lot of people say that Haiti's the land that the world forgot, and Gonave is the land that Haiti forgot. The island is isolated. It's isolated in a lot of good ways. It's isolated in a lot of bad ways. But the good side of that is that the people have a culture that I think is kind of old Haiti. They know when someone's died, they know when a baby's been born, they know when there's problems, people pitch in and help. It's just that there's a much more of a community feeling here than people trying to fight for, their little piece that they can get, that I think you see on the mainland. It's like stepping back into 1950s maybe.
Oh wow. Que magnifique.
One of the things I've learned since I've been down here is when people are so poor, if I were to come down here and I said, these kids are so cute in your school, I want to bring all of them new uniforms, they would say, merci en pile, thank you very much, and they'd let me bring them. If I came down here and I said, I really love this school, I want to know what I can, what can we do, what do you need, what do you dream of? They might say, we dream of being able to feed our children lunch every day. So, two completely different ways of approaching it. You tell them what you want to bring them, they're going to say yes, they don't have anything. They'd love to have whatever you're going to bring. If you get to know them as a friend and you really talk to them about what they need, they're going to tell you. And that's where the relationship can be very different than, I'm going to bring you what I want to bring you, or I'm going to get to know you and we're going to talk about what you need, and I might have to tell you no someday. I might have to tell you that I can't do that. But if I can do it, we're going to work together and make it happen. And I think that's the relationship we have with the people here. And I think it shows. I think it shows in the quality of the friendships that we have with them. I think it shows in the quality of the programs that we have. The first thing they told us that they wanted, we didn't want to do. We got up there and they had the remnants of a church, and we said, that's the last thing they need is a church. They need food, they need water, we need to dig a well, we need to do this. By the time we got down to the bottom of the hill, we decided, if you're going to partner with people and you're going to be friends with people, the first thing they ask you can't tell them that you're not going to do it. So we built the church, and it has become a community center. It's become a shoe distribution point. It's become a deworming center. Hopefully this time next year we'll be doing prenatal care there with our community health workers. Since that church was built, the school has doubled in size. We've added a wing to the church for preschool. We've added another cistern, so the community has water now.
The other cistern that they had cracks in it, and they weren't collecting enough water. And last February when we came, they only had about an inch of water left for the rest of the dry season. This cistern got built, and then we put in a guttering system to claim the water off the roof. It's almost full, and we're almost done with the dry season. So it's middle of March now, and middle of May they'll start getting rain, but they're fine on water. So the whole community shares from this cistern, and everyone's got water. So it's great.
So it's really improved the health of the whole community.
The health, the overall well-being of the community. A year ago, we did a deworming clinic, and we were giving out the pills, and everyone was so thirsty, they would stand in line, not worrying about the pill, they just wanted a cup of water. And so 2-year-old kids would swallow pills the size, a horse pill. They would throw it in their mouth, gulp it down, just so they could get a taste of water.
Wow.
Yeah.
The whole community is just really built up around this, us following what it was that they wanted. So they taught us a really good lesson the first thing. So we've tried to remember that. We went up one day and we had our interpreter with us that we had become friends with. And we decided that we were going to just sit down and have a meeting with the people there. This woman in the back stood up. She raised her hand and she stood up and she said, "You teach our children to read and write, and we really appreciate that. But what we would like to have that for ourselves. We wish that you would help us learn to read and write." The whole room erupted in applause. And we realized that there was no adult literacy. 2 years later now, we have a full-blown adult literacy class that serves 10 communities. We have a waiting list. The people dress up and come to the classes. They're meeting twice a week instead of once a week because they're so eager to learn. And people have dignity. They're taking positions in the community and becoming leaders where before they had been marginalized. The way one woman described it to us was, "How can my children really believe that I value education if I can't read? If I really valued it, I'd be able to read myself." We were dumbstruck. I mean, that's true. How can you have dignity with your children if they're learning to read and all of a sudden they've passed you and they know more than you do and you can't help them anymore? So there, it causes an inequality in the family then, where the children feel guilty, the parents feel ignorant and worried about what the children think. And the situation we have now is we have adults going to class and the children are so enthused about the parents learning and the family's becoming educated, the family's lifting themselves up. And it's the Haitians that are doing it. Our people in our communities are teaching these classes. They're learning together. There's not white faces down there teaching them. It's not about us doing it. We just got the access for them.
These are notes from St. Martin's Episcopal School, the French Club, and they wrote notes in French for the children here, so they will know that we're thinking of them, and we send their love.
Do you speak French?
I wish I did.
Can you try to read one for me?
Moi, pensons à vous.
Thinking of you.
Thinking of you.
We had an Episcopal school in Atlanta that was a similar size of the Episcopal school we had here. And they decided that they were going to do a matching program where the children there would go and buy shoes that fit them, which gave us a distribution of the children that down here that needed shoes. The children went with their parents and shopped for shoes. We ended up bringing almost 400 pair of shoes down here this week to distribute. It's a way that our children can learn that these children are just like they are. And it helps us train the children here about how important it is for them to wear shoes to keep from getting, the worms and getting infections. Ties That Matter has been a wonderful addition. They collaborate with the partnership. They're a 501c3 on their own and also part of the Fair Trade Association. They use recycled neckties, men's silk neckties. Fabric's beautiful, but she was having trouble getting people that would sew on a regular basis for her. They would sew and then they wouldn't show up again. And we were having dinner one night and I said, "You should come to Haiti." I said, "I know women that would love to sew for you." And she said, "Okay." So we brought 3 sewing machines over on a sailboat that almost sank and set them up. And the women started sewing. We've been sending containers of ties down here, sometimes even remnants from tie factories. It's not just that we keep the ties out of the landfill, but in some instances we're literally keeping the scraps from the tie factories out of the landfill. So environmentally it's a good project. The women are making money. The community's benefiting from it. We're making Christmas tree ornaments. They make some beautiful Haitian dolls with the tie fabric that's just, they're gorgeous. Right now we have 2 communities involved in this. We have 10 more communities that we can involve in it. We actually have 20 more communities we could involve in it. We'd love to have that happening all over the island. But on our end, the problem is trying to get distribution for that. So one of the exciting things about Greater Good is that would allow us, a larger distribution so that we could just do the same with more people. And they had decided that for their community, for free, they were going to use the sewing machines to make the school uniforms, so all children could have uniforms, not just the people that had a little extra money. We had children that had ragged uniforms that were sewn together, missing buttons, ripped skirts. Our children all have nice uniforms now, but it's because the women that were making some money with the sewing machine, selling products that go back to the U.S. and get sold, they were making a little bit of extra money, and they decided to invest in a business that would lift the whole community up and give the whole community dignity. We have a community reinvestment program where they get paid for the work they do, but then there's a reinvestment percentage that goes back to the community. And it's up to the women of the sewing group to decide how that gets spent, but they understand that it has to be spent on the community. The first project that they came up with was to buy school books for the school. Our school's never had books before. The children have never had books. They learn on blackboards, but they have books now, and they had me bring them a stamp that I ordered on the internet that says that these books are provided by this women's sewing group of Namengo. And it's all in Creole, and they stamped each book, and they've passed them out to the students.
How have you seen these women's lives change with 3 simple sewing machines?
I wish I could explain to you the faces that you saw today on those women, the stress that we used to see around them not having enough to feed their children and not knowing how they were going to pay for their children's education. To see now that they sit together and they sew together, but just to see how cohesive and how relaxed they are now around that. It's that comfort that you get from knowing that there's that little bit extra that you can pay the light bill when the bill comes, that peace of mind. And working as a community together, I think, really being able to enjoy just being in a community.
What has this opportunity done for her life?
Bon, il fait bien pile parce que auparavant moi pas comment c'est good et pour nia depuis non nécessité c'est good m'a joindre parce que je ne travaille que
It means a lot for her because before that she was in need of even $1, five Asian goods, and now if she needs something she can buy it because she works, she get paid, and she is able to provide.
If there could be, let's say, 30 sewing machines here, how would that change our village?
We are going to build a center of professional.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? And it would put it on the map, yeah?
Les autres mettre ça dans un gros papier dans journal tout ça pour faire connaître.
There's a lot of people back in the States who would say, why waste your time, why waste your resources going to a third world country, helping people who don't know a better life when next door there is someone you could help? What's your answer when you hear something like that?
I've answered that question 1,000 times. Atlanta has a lot of need. I live in Atlanta. There's a lot of need there. I could put shoes on children, 3 miles from where I live. I tell people, do what speaks to you, but do something. Haiti spoke to me. I could be somewhere else doing the same thing. I'm not into judging, the value of this thing over that thing. But what I would say, and what I do say is, I don't care what you do, just do something. If you have a life that allows you to make those kind of choices, then you need to make the choice to help somebody that doesn't have as much as you have. And I wouldn't pretend to say that Haiti is a better place to be than any place else. It's just my place to be. It's where I'm supposed to be. I think the larger issue is, how can you help somebody? How can you quit worrying about your first world problems and start getting concerned about what the world needs, and that we're all related to each other, we're all in this together, and that we need to be concerned about each other.